Welcome, everyone. First, I'd like to thank, on behalf of the many thousands of Appian employees globally, of you trusting us to work with you on these very important digital process transformations. We recognize it's a very challenging endeavor to change your processes at the core. So, to dig into this, of course, as Matt introduced, Appian sees ourselves as the process company. But I'd like to talk about that from a more technology perspective. We've seen from many other presenters here that process is not implemented in a silo. We need to implement this in an ecosystem of existing technology investments. You probably have many investments over many decades of acronyms of systems, PLM, WMS, IAM, ITSM, ERP. And we need to continue with these systems when we think about transformation of those digital processes. And of course, for many decades as well, we've thought about the way to do that is through integration, service-oriented architecture, integration platforms as a service. How can I connect those systems together? And even more importantly, we're asking ourselves, AI, how do I now integrate these new innovations into my existing systems that maybe I haven't touched in many years? How do I integrate these systems together? I would contend that integration is not the answer anymore. We've all established message buses, service-oriented architectures, but what we need to think about is more orchestration and process involvement in that, such as how do I organize these in process orchestrations? Process, we've learned a lot about that for these examples, but process is an integration tool beyond just systems, integrating RPA bots, AI, people, policies, data, and systems into orchestrations. Modern integration is about orchestration. Modern integration is about aligning not just your systems, but with your people, your processes, your data, so that you can manage that business effectively. Managing integration does not lead to managing business operations. It's a systems level view of the world. Managing orchestration allows you to manage things more holistically. And that's what we think about when we think about process. Process, of course, to us is also case management, claims management, customer onboarding. We've seen these examples that it is many things to many use cases, but there's a common thread that process often is the underpinning of your organization. It is your customer experience. It is your supply chain. It is your investigations. Your ability to meet regulatory compliance is all rooted in your ability to satisfy your process needs across your organization. Now, I'm going to go into a few Gartner slides here because there's a really interesting Gartner research coming out around the alignment of technologies for this process market. Specifically, they're identifying that automation markets are overlapping. LCAP here stands for low-code application platforms. BPA, business process automation. RPA, robotic process automation. And iPaaS, integration platforms as a service. Gartner's identifying that these technologies are no longer looking at siloed solutions, but rather integrating into a new market, we'll say, which is a very interesting naming because the opportunity for puns seems infinite, but it is called the boat market. You know, I often think that people often say the best day of your life and the worst day of your life is when you buy a boat and sell a boat, or sorry, the best day is when you buy and sell the boat. That's one of the puns that we'll all come up with, and of course, but boat here to Gartner is a very real thing of its business orchestration automation technologies. It's not just about alignment of these disparate technologies, but a platform coming together that combines the value proposition of low code with BPA, RPA, and iPaaS to really manage process orchestrations and automate those processes across your enterprise. Now, if we trace exactly how it means to implement a boat in this case, again, Gartner dives into this, that the future of automation is autonomous. If we read this from left to right, we can use tools like discovery and process mining to have a deeper understanding of what is actually going on in your business, in a business process. Using then process modeling, UX design, workflow design, decision modeling, all underpinned by low-code development, and also increasingly underpinned by large language models, LLMs, and AI to build the core central theme, which is a process orchestration. That process orchestration then is what is aligning then your AI services, which are oftentimes emerging inside your enterprise right now, with your bots, your microservices, your other types of systems to build agentic AI. We're actually going to see some demos of that coming together by some of the product managers in this presentation today. And if you'd like to check out this report for yourself, I'll offer you to take out your cell phone, scan the QR code, but of course you can also simply go to Appian.com. We're offering this as well as a reprint. It's a fascinating report to track how other organizations are aligning these technologies to build their boat architecture to move beyond RPA, move beyond iPaaS, and move into an end-to-end process orchestration approach. Now, Appian, of course, we strive to be a leading platform for process orchestration, automation, and intelligence. What that means is we think about three things. Design. How do you actually build these things and deliver them effectively to drive process orchestrations? How do I then identify opportunities inside your process to automate those to greater efficiencies in your business? And how do I then analyze your business to optimize it over time? The implementation of process applications might be different from your one and done application waterfall methodology, because this is an agile and continuous process. We're constantly designing, automating, and optimizing your business, ensuring that we're constantly modernizing your processes as regulations change, or as customer experiences change, or as core business operations change. Appian's also proud to be rated as a leader in low-code application development, the #1 tool in the most recent critical capabilities for low-code for complex internal applications, and also a leader in process mining, also by Gartner. So fantastic validation there from Gartner fulfilling this vision. But what I'd like to talk a little bit more about is that design phase. You've probably seen from Appian our low-code design methodology we've been using for many years. And low-code, to us, again, to understand, is not a thing. It is not a noun. Low-code is an adjective. Low-code is a methodology that we adopt from product management perspective, that we say everything that a customer does in the Appian product should be following a low-code methodology. Whether it's a user interface design, building a robotic process, building integration, building AI into your processes, it should be intuitive. It shouldn't require a person with a degree in computer science or data science, and it should deliver rapid results for agile delivery methodology. In addition, we also think deeply about the roles that participate in application development. Low code is not singled out to a specific role. There are very much professional developers involved in the application development lifecycle with Appian. Low-code developers, of course, we specialized in, but what I'm going to dive into here more is that citizen developer role. Maybe something that you haven't fully explored yet with the Appian product, but we're happy to introduce this year our Case Management Studio, which focuses on that role more exclusively. And of course, building those applications for end users, but also thinking about how we can empower those end users to customize and explore data and use also AI. And when we think about AI as well, we don't think of AI as an isolated technology in the stack. AI to us is an underpinning. Just like it is a microservice container or a database, it is a core fundamental part of the Appian platform today. In April of this year, we signed a strategic collaboration agreement with Amazon that we now offer embedding of AWS Bedrock with the Appian license and completely isolated in a private AI architecture for all of our customers. If you haven't turned on our Gen AI SKUs with AWS Bedrock, highly encourage you to talk to your partner and sales managers to enable that capabilities. Again, that private AI architecture means that whenever you use AI with the Appian product, it's completely isolated to your tenancy. There is no sharing of data outside of that tenancy, and it's completely isolated to you. Now, what I'd like to talk about specifically here is our AI Copilot innovations. When we think about AI Copilot, how we manifest AI here is in the design and user assistance capabilities. We think about intent of building and intent of a user and how AI fits into that stream to help accomplish those goals. And we're going to see a number of demos here today to actually focus on that. To jump into that demo, let's take a look at Case Management Studio. Case Management Studio is specifically designed, again, for that citizen developer experience, which is really those large set of process opportunities that are not reserved for the higher end low-code development platform. Something that you want to empower someone to build with that requires no training, No complex expression logic, and highly intuitive experience for it. So, in the spirit of also live demos, we are not going to do any videos today. We're going to do live demos. So if we can switch over to the screen that I'm sharing right now. So to first talk about the Case Management Studio application, Appian has many decades of experience of building specifically this for our customers. How do I effectively handle service requests, cases in your business, and create a fantastic dashboard experience for those end users? This institutionalizes that knowledge in a packaged solution for you to rapidly adopt. From the case management workspace, a case user can quickly see a calendar on the right-hand side of all the key dates and events they need to be tracking, recent activity of all the cases they're working on using that event logging capabilities, my cases, the things that are important to me I'm working on, and of course my task list, things that I need to be doing to progress those cases through work. And of course, am I meeting my SLAs? We're always trying to track against measurements, so Appian is able to track against real-time performance measurements across that. Let's dive into the ACH transaction error case. As we look at this specific case, again, it's laid out intuitively for this user. They get a nice summary of that entire case. They can see all the active actions going on. As we start to employ, though, AI, I see there's a whole bunch of comments down below. I don't like to read, so can AI just tell me what's going on? So great, we have an AI Copilot content summary, which is summarizing all the comments of this case in one shot. And of course, there's always an AI smart suggestion. So can you tell me about this dispute? I don't want to read all this dashboard stuff. Please just, summarize all the documents, the summary, the contents, what's going on. It will look at all the case information and give me a nice snapshot summary of it. Again, there we have, based on the information, here's the summary of what's going on. It's an ACH transaction error. Similarly, there's lots of other attributes to a case I need to be tracking, such as the workflows. And we're going to dive into more detail here in the workflow in a second when we go to the studio. But I can see it's a very intuitive way to see the history of that workflow, exactly what steps it's going through and what steps are currently completed. I have a nice visualization there on the right as well. And of course, on the documents, all cases can have lots of knowledge associated with them, unstructured content going in. Another great opportunity, again, to leverage AI to say, well, I don't want to read this entire document. Can it just give me a quick AI Copilot summary of what actually is inside this document? Great, it's giving me the error was caused by a system glitch, duplicate transaction, overpayment of $5,000. A quick summary that might be a long document to get the gist of exactly what's going on. But of course, this workspace comes out of the box, but it's highly customizable in the studio experience for our users. So if I swipe over to the studio experience, this is where a citizen developer now can customize this experience for your specific case application. Let's go into that automated clearinghouse application and take a look at the case design experience. Now, for those of you familiar with the low-code development experience, you're probably seeing a much more simplistic design environment. There's not 24 different design objects with complex relations. You can still build those very robust, complex apps, but this is much more boiled down to be intuitive for the user. So if I click on the data element, this is the key information I need to capture with this case. And I see it's possibly missing some stuff here. So I'm going to add some data fields. And well, I could go in here and manually select, and maybe not everyone knows the definition of Boolean. I have a degree in computer science, so I know what Boolean is, true, false, very simple. Maybe everyone doesn't know that. So I can simply say, I need some more data here to capture payee information, like name and address. And I even had a typo, but we'll let the typo stay because people also make typos. And we'll see how the AI handled it. And what's doing is saying, well, just tell it what you want to do and just create that data model for me from that application. And here we go. And once live demos, right? I'm going to correct the typo, just see what happens. Oh, wait. This is the problem of being on stage, is I'm just not paying attention that it actually did create the name and address for me. There. I've done this demo too many times, so I'm assuming that's already there. But anyways, it created it right there, payee name, payee address. So if that looks good, of course, I can customize it, hit create, and go ahead and add those data fields to the environment just like this. So again, leverages AI in these nice little areas to rapidly create things that maybe the developer or the citizen developer isn't familiar with, but go ahead and create the appropriate fields for them. Same thing on the Case Management Studio. There's a very intuitive way to also design interfaces. Now, of course, the full interface designer gives a lot of robust capability to customize your specific brand, but this is really a simplified version which allows me to simply update this, and just like the full interface designer, I can drag and drop components, but again, it's a much simpler experience that allows you to enable citizen developers to customize without having complexity. And then let me go ahead and close this, and then also talk about those workflow capabilities. Now, we have a much more simplified version of looking at workflows inside the workflow designer here. Now, every single case seems to have its own unique steps. So inside these steps, I can see them laid out here on the right-hand side, but also see all the potential activities. If I want to customize this, I'll simply hit Update. And as I hit Update, I can see my workflow again on the right-hand side and the available actions on the left. Now, new with the Case Management Studio is to be able to also insert automated decisioning inside the environment. So if I want to add an automated decision here, let's go ahead and add an automation and add some conditions to this and say, well, if this specific transaction is maybe less than 10,000 pounds, and maybe if it's for a equal to savings, I'll go ahead and do automation just like that inside the flow. Now, if it's less than 10,000, I just want to go directly to inform or intake review. Otherwise, let's go and route to the inform ACH network. If it's greater than 10,000 and not savings, then I am concerned about that. And to insert that into my overall workflow, I'll go ahead and add to say, I want to go to automation first, just like this. And now I've updated my workflow. I see visualize on the right-hand side. I can validate that, hit update, and now that applies to all my case applications. So in a great tool, again, you can empower citizen developers to customize workflows, data, forms, self-service, build these applications, and then instantly publish those for their own specific needs as well. Now, to talk a little bit more about Appian's full capabilities, to transition back to the slides here, we learned a little bit about the design. Of course, there's a lot more to the application design experience that you can experience at the Innovation Showcase. But also, let's talk about automation. Now, to expand on automation, I'd like to invite Allison Montemayor, lead product manager for our automation group, to talk about our latest innovations on the automation segment. Allison?
Thanks, Malcolm. So you've heard Matt and Malcolm up here talking about how Appian is the process company, right? And how process it's crucial to your business and the success of your business, right? Everything your business does is defined by a process. And those processes are often complex, requiring the orchestration of many different activities, both human and automated. And they evolve over time. As you seek to optimize your work and automate more and reduce those time-intensive manual activities. But each business process and enterprise ecosystem is unique, right? Which means that no one automation tool is going to be sufficient for all of your automation needs. That's why Appian provides a variety of automation capabilities like API integrations, RPA, document processing, AI, so that you can choose the right tool based on your use case and what works in your enterprise ecosystem. With an ever-growing list of connectors, Appian makes it easy to connect to your enterprise systems using APIs. And this is really important as we've seen a growing need to support more straight-through processing use cases, which don't involve humans, but do require automating a large number of transactions in real time. So many organizations have started to shift towards a microservices architecture, right, to handle the kind of scale that's required by these types of use cases. And to do that, you need a powerful engine to orchestrate all those APIs. So to handle these kinds of use cases, we're introducing Appian Autoscale. It's a new, separately licensed service in Appian Cloud that dynamically adjusts your process execution capacity based on demand. It's designed for high volume, high throughput automation. and it delivers 100 times the processing power of the standard engines, but when needed, right, without having to pre-provision resources. Now, like I said, it's specifically optimized for high-volume, unattended workflows, right? So where speed and efficiency really matter, okay? There's a couple of common categories of use cases that Autoscale serves really well. The first one I already mentioned, microservice orchestration, right? Where you need to manage and coordinate the interactions between lots of individual services in a distributed system. And you primarily do this with API integrations. The second is straight-through processing, where automated systems are designed to eliminate manual intervention using business rules to make decisions for you and fully automate those transactions from start to finish. And the third is scheduled processing, right? Where you need to run often intensive workflows on a recurring basis, like end of day, end of month, or end of year, right? And these often involve data transformations, right? Such as, data anonymization or, year-end closing, those kinds of use cases. Now, to accommodate that occasional need for extra capacity, Autoscale will automatically scale your processing capacity to match the demand, right? And this is not only useful for scheduled processing, where you can predict when you're going to need that additional capacity, but also for making sure that your system remains performant when you have unexpected surges in demand. So because of this, Autoscale enables our customers to automate use cases that both have significantly higher and less predictable scalability requirements. Our low-code process modeler makes it easy to build and understand the logic necessary to orchestrate all of these different systems and activities. And since Autoscale is just a new mode of executing processes, you can leverage the exact same design experience that you're already familiar with. It's as easy as checking a box to enable it. Now, in our initial release, we're focused on delivering the core automation capabilities that are needed to serve those high-volume use cases, right? And the design experience is tailored for those capabilities. Now, over time, over the coming releases, we're going to continue to expand that list of functionality so that you can automate even more and more over more use cases at scale. Okay, so I'm sure that you were dying to see it in action, right? So now we're gonna flip over here to our demo. All right, so here we have an insurance claims processing application, right? Where our main process for handling claims is already running in the existing engine. But of course, claims don't come in at a predictable rate, right? So this process needs to be able to handle unexpected surges in volume, right? So to do that, we're gonna update it to use Autoscale instead. So this is really as easy as checking a box, right? I can go here, use Autoscaling, okay. Now, when I do this, the process modeler filters down the set of, like the palette to the set of capabilities that are compatible with Autoscale, right? I have an existing process, so I'm gonna check and see if everything that I'm already using is compatible, and it looks like I'm using only compatible nodes. So I'm ready to publish without any further changes, okay? Now, if we fast forward in time, right, and our auto-scaled process has been running for the past week, right? Let's go over to the monitoring view to validate that it's running as intended, okay? So here I can go to the new auto-scaled process activity tab, which gives me a high-level view of all of my high-throughput process activity in the system, right? So I can use these trend charts to be able to track patterns in utilization and in errors, right? And if I observe a spike in either, right, I can try and use the metrics down here at the bottom to figure out who's the likely culprit, right? Which process model is causing my problem? From there, I can drill into a specific process model to view all of its activity. I can see all of its process activity here. And then take action, right? I can do things like, filter down to only see the errored processes, right? In order to troubleshoot further and try to understand if there are any problems that are happening and find the root cause. All right, so there you have it. There's the auto-scale in action, right? It's pretty familiar, so we should be able to use that for our applications going forward. So we've already seen the impact that auto-scale will have through our beta program. So one of our participants was Helia, a major insurance company in Australia. And what they needed to do was perform data de-identification and record retention on millions of records a couple times a month. Now, they had been automating this process using Python, but they wanted to use Appian in order to reduce the development and maintenance overhead. The results of their performance tests were phenomenal. At high volumes, they saw 6 times greater process throughput with autoscale than without. And even at high volumes, the process latency remained consistently low, with no impact on end-user performance. So this is just one of our success stories from our beta program, but we have lots more. And so to learn more, if you're interested, you can come to my breakout session this afternoon where we can hear a little bit more about Aviva's experience in the beta program. So we've talked about how Appian allows you to orchestrate your API integrations at scale. So to talk about our other automation capabilities, I'm going to hand it off to Jake Rank.
All right, thanks, Allison. And web services and APIs are a great way to automate your processes. And it's wonderful to see how many systems you can connect to, and now that you can run at even higher scale than ever before. But sometimes you don't have an API. Right? Maybe you're automating a legacy system or a mainframe, or maybe you just don't have time to build the API, or maybe you don't have time to get access to the API. Or perhaps you're just automating desktop activity, like working with Excel files. For all of those use cases, we can extend the capabilities of Appian using robotic process automation. RPA is a great complement to the rest of the Appian automation suite, allowing you to do more automation across more use cases than ever before. And over the last year, we've introduced some great enhancements to our RPA offering, including support for self-managed customers. So wherever you run Appian, you can now take advantage of RPA. And we've allowed you to run unlimited robots so that you can scale your RPA operation more than ever. And with those features, as well as other things that we've introduced over the last year, our production customers are using RPA more than ever, with production volume up 40% versus this time last year. Another key automation capability is document processing. Right? So many of our workflows have documents at the core, or use documents as an important element of what the value that's being driven from that process. And documents can be very hard to tap into. Now, over the last few years, Appian's allowed you to use machine learning combined with business rules, paired with human reconciliation, to get information out of documents, to classify and route documents. It's been very successful, but over the last year, with the advent of generative AI, we've really been able to complete that picture. It's the missing piece that we've brought to this puzzle. And now, all of our major IDP implementations are using a combination of all of these technologies and allows them to scale to more variety of documents, whether that's structured forms or unstructured documents, with higher accuracy and a lower configuration and maintenance burden. And because of that, we're seeing even more explosive growth here than with RPA. 7 times as many documents processed now versus 1 year ago. So that's tremendous growth and shows the value that IDP brings as one of the automation capabilities of the Appian platform. So speaking of AI, we know that AI works better when it's combined with data and process. Data provides a foundation for AI. It's the way that you train AI. It's the way that you bring context and ground your AI. And with process, you can lend an aspect of control, right? AI and process allows humans to come into the picture working in the same workflow. It makes sure that AI is auditable and governed. And throughout this presentation, we've been talking about how AI is infused throughout the Appian platform. Malcolm talked earlier about AI Copilot and what it does for business users and developers and how it accelerates them and makes them better at their jobs. And now I want to talk about AI skills and how they allow you to create AI agents inside your process. But what exactly are we talking about with AI agents? Well, one, they need the ability to perceive and understand the world around them, whether that's structured information or unstructured information, computer vision. A whole range of technologies are needed in order to tap into that capability. Agents also need knowledge, right? They need access to data from across the enterprise. They need access to that so that they can make autonomous decisions, to understand the context and decide what to do next. And then with those decisions, they can move to taking action. Now, of course, you can see why Appian is therefore a great platform on which to build AI agents, with AI skills providing all the necessary technologies to do that perception, Data fabric, tapping into all the enterprise data systems that you have across your organization, being able to make decisions with both business rules and artificial intelligence, and then when it comes to action, all the great capabilities we have in process models, APIs, RPA, the entire suite of automation. We give you a wide range of skills to use when you're building agents into your workflows, whether that's document classification to route, whether it's extracting information from an email, whether it's generating a summary of text. Now I'm going to go over and do a quick demo to show you guys some of this agents in action within Appian. So if we switch over to the demo screen here. Now imagine that we are a company, next gen, that sells AirPods and other digital consumer goods. We have an order for AirPods, someone's gotten them engraved, and now the customer has emailed us asking if they can cancel their order. Already on the right-hand side, you can see that we have an agentic process that's received that email. We've used AI to understand the context of the email, knowing now that it is a request to cancel the order. Based on the information extracted from that email, we're able to go and do a query against Data Fabric to look up the rest of the details of that order. And then we combine the order details with the information from NextGen's cancellation policy to determine whether or not we can actually cancel this order. And in this case, because the customer had their AirPods engraved, they're not in compliance with the cancellation policy, right? They've been customized, so we're not gonna accept those back. In this case, the AI is able to determine that and routes it for a human to confirm that decision. Now, as the human reviewer, I can decide maybe I wanna override that decision, maybe I wanna accept that decision. In this case, let's approve it so that they can get their order canceled. Make sure we keep our customer happy. Now, let's fast forward a little bit. We have another order, let's say another AirPods order, and we have another situation where, okay, I'm now gonna email back in, okay, I wanna cancel that order. I sent it in last Friday. Let's send this email and kick off a similar process. Now, in the time between the previous order and now, we've reviewed our next-gen order cancellation policy. This is actually the policy document that maybe your customers would download off your website or that your internal users would reference as the policy guidance. You can see with the highlighted passage that we've actually updated our policy. Now we want to allow those customized or engraved products to be canceled as long as they're under a certain dollar amount. Now, you might think that a change like this would require me to go back into development, change the business rules, maybe push up a new deployment. But in fact, that AI agent that we saw before is directly interpreting this document. So we've simply uploaded this document, and the agent takes this document, the order context, interprets them together to determine whether or not to approve the cancellation. So now if we look at that new order and the agent processing the request to cancel, you see we followed a similar sequence of steps from the previous. We've analyzed the email, we pulled the information from the order using Data Fabric, but now when we analyze the order information with the customizations against the new policy, we've decided that that is approved. It's now in compliance with the new and updated policy. So this process has been completely automated with straight-through processing. But let's say I want to make sure that it was done correctly, or I want to audit this decision, make sure that our AI is actually working as appropriate. We have all the information right here in the system with our audit log to make sure that we can go check the logic, check the explanation of what the AI was doing, and you can see that it correctly interpreted the $150 limit. It correctly interpreted that although it was a customized product, that is now in compliance with the new policy, so we're okay to automate the cancellation request. So just a little bit of the power of what AI agents can do right now in the Appian platform. So we know, you can see in that demo that there are just a few of the ways that AI is better with Appian, but here are some of them, right? I'd mentioned before, AI and process are better together. With AI, you get the power and the flexibility when you want it, but with process, you get the control and the governance where you need it. We bring all of this together in a unified platform, right? With the same low-code developer being able to build across all aspects, with the same security model applied, with one-click deployment of everything that you've built. You can use Data Fabric to tap into knowledge and data sources across your organization, all while keeping that data private and secure to your organization. We allow you to bring humans and AI together to maintain oversight, and we extend that oversight and governance with all of the auditing and overall governance capabilities of the platform. And finally, one of the things the platform brings is all of those compliance requirements that both you and your customers are expecting. So, we've talked about how Appian lets you design your applications. We've talked about how you can automate your business processes. Now let's talk about how you can optimize them. Because as we know, the fact is processes are often much more complicated than you think, right? And they're constantly changing. So you may model your initial process as a straight workflow, but in reality, there are exception cases. There's human overrides, right? There's ad hoc actions, and everything gets a lot more complicated when you look at things in the real world. But you still want to know, how's my process performing? Is it saving me time? Is it saving me money? Is it helping me avoid mistakes and making sure that my customers are happy? These are all really important questions to dig into, and that's why earlier this year we introduced Process HQ. Process HQ is a new workspace in Appian, which is your mission control center. It allows you to navigate your business data, it allows you to measure the performance of your business operations, and it allows you to optimize your business process using AI-powered recommendations. Process HQ consists of two main parts. It allows you to find insights for both your process and your data. With Process Insights, we've built on process mining technology and added in AI-based recommendations that help you find insights that you can take action on. And with Data Fabric Insights, we've built on our Data Fabric Foundation to create visualizations and then use AI to analyze your information. And now, I want to call Malcolm back up on stage so we can run through a demo and show you guys how it actually works. All right, how are you doing, Malcolm? Welcome back.
Ready to go. Yep, live demos.
All right, so we're going to start here on the Process HQ homepage, and you can see right at the top, it allows you to explore your processes and explore your data fabric. Let's start on the data fabric side. So what we'll load up here is the data catalog. And you can see, it's all of the information that you've attached to Appian, right? That you've brought into Appian. Maybe it's something for an application that you built in Appian, or maybe it's a system that you've integrated and connected and synced into your data fabric. Every data set that you have access to is listed here, using security and everything else that we want to make sure that we have control. You'll also notice that we have AI Copilot. So with this AI Copilot and combining it with your data catalog, we're going to allow you to tap in and talk with any information that you have access to across your organization. You can go in, simply ask a question. Right, I think we're going to ask a question about how many orders, how many orders are in a. I'm going to let Malcolm decide what we're searching for here. You can ask any question though, right? I mean, it doesn't matter. You can ask any question that you want. We can look for things that are past due. We can figure out what their statuses are. And now AI Copilot's going to go figure out.
I've already warned Jake that I love playing with this tool because it's basically like having a conversation with someone who has encyclopedic knowledge of your entire enterprise.
That's right. And you don't have to know where the data is, right? AI Copilot's going to go figure out where the data is. It's going to look at all those data sets and figure out this is the best place to go to find this answer. Now, you can see that we got a really quick answer here, and we can also ask follow-up questions. So now that we see what some of the information is, I want to dig into maybe those 6 orders in pending review. I want to find out who I need to go talk to about that, right? Let me see if we can maybe start driving to some action on this. Again, a follow-up question can be asked, and then we'll go and get the answer as it goes through. And again, whether it's a single record, whether it's a cross-record relationships, anywhere in that data set, it's going to find the information. And if you want to know exactly how it got that answer, you can go to the See More Details link, and it'll pull up which data set it requested it from, what filters did it apply, everything that allows you to verify that answer.
Mm-hmm. And I just got to ask, what customers does Brian Kim work with? So again, it's so fantastic. Again, any data source, it knows how to translate natural language across your entire enterprise data and get information about anything you want inside the system. So right there, momentum matrix. Should I keep going?
We could, well, I don't know, we're gonna run out of time. But you can really see, right, we've looked at the orders, we've looked at the employees, we've looked at the customers now, right? We're literally navigating the entire data fabric to provide answers in real time. So that's a fantastic capability, and I guess Malcolm is gonna go one more step here.
I gotta ask about Zenith now, I don't have to write Zenith Analytics, it just knows, oh, Zenith, correlate that to that customer ID, then find all the information right there as well. Cool. I can go nonstop, but let's. That's right. I know we're over time already, so let's keep going.
There we go. All right. So you can see though, it's very powerful. No dashboards, no building. Right in production, get your answers. All right. So we also though in Data Fabric allow you to build, rich visualizations. So if we go back to the homepage, we can drive into our orders dashboard where we have all the information related to some of our order management application. Now, this again was something that you can build directly in production in Process HQ. You can have KPIs, you can have charts. Even down here at the bottom, you can look at individual orders. You can drill into the details of individual orders. You can take action on individual orders, all from that one data fabric dashboard. So a really powerful capability, being able to edit that live. Now, we've looked a lot at the data story. Why don't we switch over to the process insights side? So when we go to the process insights tab, you'll notice that we have the order management process. We've seen the data side of the order management. Now let's look at the process. And you'll notice there's some KPIs, and right down below, there's that process model, right? Now, this is what we talked about earlier, right? The actual process as it's executing in production with all the complexities, all the loops, all the delays, everything that's really happening in the wild. But this, of course, is all of our information, right? These are all of my orders. The in-process orders, the completed ones, the canceled ones, maybe all those AirPods that were canceled earlier. So we want to narrow the focus of what we're looking at, and that we can create a view. So if we go down and create a view, we're again going to have AI Copilot look at the data, analyze all the attributes, all the activities in your process, and suggest specific views, specific ways to splice and dice your data so that it makes more sense and allows you to optimize. So here, closed orders makes a sense, right? I want to look at everything that's done so that I can make sure that I'm analyzing on a level basis. And Copilot has pre-populated everything. I just have to click through. It's telling me which filters to apply, which activities to include, what to name it. So very quickly, I have that view.
So that was all AI decided.
That's right. AI decided, but human verified,
Human control.
right?
Yeah.
Yes. Now I'm looking just at the closed orders, and if we zoom back in on that process, we can start to see, first of all, on the KPIs that the automation rate is dropping and our case duration is increasing. And the obvious culprit is this highlighted node here, which also has a loop around it, right? Something related to our shipping vendors, and we can dig into this and start to look at what's the opportunity for improvement. And what we're going to give you when you actually load that link is, how much slower is it? What's the opportunity for you to improve in totality? You can save 486 days a year. Now, as you drill into that and continue the investigation, we're going to show you additional AI-driven recommendations that let you build a deeper insight over time. And in this case, one is popping to the top, right? What is that one? That's the shipping vendor, Pioneer Solutions, right? So one particular shipping vendor that we're using is causing that loop, right? In fact, it's a 100% overlap with the loop. So now we can drill into that. We can confirm that there's a great potential savings here. This sounds like the kind of thing that we want to communicate with the rest of our organization. So we go in, we'll save that insight, right? We'll give it a great name so that we can help communicate this. And as we're naming this insight, remember, we're overall trying to save as much time as we want. So you can create multiple insights. You can save this one, which is related to the shipping vendor. You can go back and you can find other potential sources of improvement, and we'll aggregate all those potential savings into one investigation. When you look at your insight summary here, right, you can actually see it was loaded in. Not only do we give you the KPI information, we give you the potential savings, and now we're giving you an AI-driven summary of the entire insight.
Which is amazing when you think about how we're taking that full data fabric and allowing the AI to traverse all that correlation of business data like Pioneer to the actual causes and automatically elevating that for awareness for the user to know exactly where to drill into.
Right, and now you can take this summary and share it with the rest of the organization to help drive that action, right? Here's the impact, here's the potential, here's the recommendation on what we can do about it. So really powerful tool that you can use to take an idea and turn it into an optimization activity. All right, so I think that's Process HQ. If we jump back onto the slides, I think we're getting to the home stretch here.
Yeah, so next slide, of course, home stretch, design, automate, optimize. I think we saw the design, case management, rapidly building. Of course, all those case management solutions feed right into that automation optimization category to fulfill this whole vision. But Jake, I know we have more planned for 2025.
That's
so
right.
Give us a preview.
Right. So come to Appian World. We're going to be showcasing all the latest and greatest, including AI-powered development with Appian Composer. We're going to show you even more on AI agents and how you can use them to build dynamic processes. We'll expand on Case Management Studio and how you can leverage even more automation as part of it, as well as taking AutoScale and expanding it to even more parts of the platform. So in April next year, Denver, Colorado.
Hope to see you there.
Yeah.
And thank you so much for attending the show. We're a little bit over, but I'm going to pass it back to April LaFavro to dismiss us and on to the rest of the conference. Thank you so much.